Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for Friday, January 24th, 2025. Hope everyone is having a great morning. Hope your evening was great. Well, we have another wild day ahead of us, and this morning we have an interesting turn of events. The futures are slightly lower. Boy, we haven't seen that for a while. So, how about we take a look at what's happening overnight? First off, Asian markets last night, a little bit of mix, but mostly positive. Australia was up. The Nikkei was a little tiny bit lower by 0.07%. India was down about 0.5%. We had Hong Kong zooming up last night, up 1.86%, and Shanghai up 0.70%. If we take a look at European markets this morning, a little tiny mix in here, but we've got just a little tiny bit higher on the DAX, 0.29%. The FTSE is looking a little bit lower this morning. And for example, like the stock 600 is up 0.38%. So a little bit of mix in here. If we take a look at U.S. futures this morning, U.S. futures are oddly in the red. Haven't seen that for a while. Dow futures right now down 41 points. S&P 500 futures down a whopping 8.5 points, and the NASDAQ futures down 33.5 points. So let's take a look at our bond yields here this morning. Our bond yields, well, they're holding in there just fine, nothing major. The 2-year bond has ticked back down just a little bit at 4.27%. 10-year bonds are at 4.64%, a little bit higher, and the 30-year bonds are at 4.86%. We've had quite a little bit of volatility since the president came out and said that he was going to demand that interest rates are lowered. We've kind of heard that before from him, and the FOMC goes, yeah, we don't do what you tell us to do. We follow the numbers. We'll see if that has any impact now. But as a result, we had a good zooming move yesterday after he mentioned that, pushing the markets up substantially. And if you take a look at the US dollar this morning, we're a little bit weaker here on the day. Right now, we've got the dollar down 48 cents this morning in the dollar futures. Well, let's take a look at our cryptos here this morning. Cryptos, boy, they had a big reversal yesterday, moving back up. Bitcoin popped up pretty substantially after starting lower. And right now, Bitcoin is up $842 a coin. Ether is up a whopping 4.02%, or $131 a coin, and we're mostly green in those cryptos here this morning. If we take a look at precious metals, well, the dollar falling is having a pretty good effect on gold if you're holding gold. Gold right now is up $19.30 an ounce in the futures. We've got silver up 53 cents, moving higher this morning and possibly getting into a point where we might break this higher here out of that downtrend. We've got copper. Copper's a little bit higher this morning. Platinum and palladium. And palladium, pretty interesting chart here. We are really starting to push up here in palladium, so keep an eye on that. So if we continue to see this dollar weaken, then I would expect those precious metals to move on higher, and anything in that commodity sector could move on up. For example, We've got oil just a little bit higher this morning. If we look at XLE, it's trying to push back up. We've got oil futures at the moment up 22 cents a barrel at 74.85. Apparently I'm dyslexic. If we take a look at Brent crude, it is also a little bit higher this morning at $78.61 a barrel. If we take a look at natural gas, UNG, we had a nice pop and drop in there yesterday on that. It is following through to the downside here, back down to support. We'll want to watch that carefully. This is a possible lower high coming into play on UNG. Natural gas down just a tiny bit, about 10 cents at the moment. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up and let's get ready for the Friday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Hope this video finds you warm and healthy. Boy, there's been a lot of that cold running around the country, and hope particularly those folks in the South that aren't particularly used to that kind of weather. You're all safe down there and doing well. Let's take a look at these charts. And remember, when we look at our index charts or any chart, we want to look at the chart for what it is, not for what we want it to be. We don't want to come to the market with our ego, pushing that ego, because we will always put ourselves in a risk situation doing that. Let's take a look here at the diamonds. Really, not this stretch is truly remarkable. You know, for as much as we heard from everyone that this presidency was going to be the worst thing ever, boy, the market has been celebrating it big time. Despite the fact that we are very elevated in valuations, nobody seems to care. It's just, get out of my way, I want to buy something. And the big stretch yesterday after the president said, now I'm going to demand rates go lower, well, pushing us right through this resistance here in the chart that I've got marked. And if those bulls can continue to find that inspiration, well, I think there's that opportunity. We could push right up here, test the underneath side of that resistance area, and then even push right on through and test these all-time highs if we can keep that enthusiasm going here in the market. Now, if the bears find any inspiration, we have opened a pretty big opportunity for those bears to push back if they can get something going, pushing back down below this support, and then of course we would have that potential of a substantial decline coming in to the next areas of support here in the chart. And the diamonds isn't as bad as some of the other indexes where we have just these massive gaps left behind, but you will notice we do have these gaps in here that is, as we start pulling back, if any of those get filled, we could have a little bit of a painful ride on the bearish side. Now, taking a look, we're well above our 50-day moving average again, so it wouldn't be out of the question, it wouldn't be odd if in a pullback, or if a pullback begins, we're back down here testing that 50-day moving average for support in the chart. And by the way, if that occurs, that's a very bullish thing to do, to pull back to rest, to confirm that we can hold in here, because that would establish an upside trend possibly. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at our SPY. SPY also just super strong, breaking out to new record highs, trying to hold that in here this morning. So watch that carefully. We got her done here in the SPY. Big tech doing the majority of that, where I'm telling you, big tech is so extended here heading into their earnings. They had better hit it out of the park, because if they don't, we could have a little bit of pain coming our way. And I don't know which one is going to be the case. I'm not trying to say that I expect them to report badly. I don't expect that. I'm just saying that they are so heavily valued that they had better do one heck of a job in their reports. If the bulls can continue to find this inspiration, well, we got nothing but blue sky above. And if the bears can find any inspiration here on the day, well, a pushback, if we break back down below that high, start pushing back down. Notice we've got some really substantial gaps here in this chart that could be filled if those bears were to get going, making things a little bit painful. And we do run the risk, this is kind of how double tops can be made too in an index, pushing back up. If we fail to hold here in the QQQ, that or the SPY, that would be a problem. But once again, if we were to start pulling back, maybe we start finding some of these support levels in here headed back toward that 50-day moving average. And again, as long as we hold in there, that is a bullish situation because that establishes an upside trend. If we take a look at our QQQ, very much the same situation here on the QQQ, except we haven't quite been able to squeak out there and make that new record high. So watch that carefully. We've been stuck right here for a couple of trading sessions trying to push up, and we haven't been able to break that big black candle here on the Qs just yet. So watch that carefully. If those bulls get going, that's where I would be looking right here. And then once we pop that, it'd be a pretty quick trip, I think, here up to retest or even break out to all-time highs in the Qs. If the bears, however, were to get going, well, push back down into here. We might start coming into a gap fill here. If that were the case, that might raise a little bit of concern and might put that wonder in everyone's mind, will this be a lower high in the Qs if that were the case? Pushing on down below there, I think we're going to start raising a little bit of fear in the Qs if that were the case. We'll want to keep an eye on that. And if we take a look right in here, we've got our 50-day moving average coming up. We've got some good support levels right through here that could hold us, but wouldn't be all that much a surprise if we rest or pull back and find that 50-day moving average out here someplace. So watch carefully for that. Our IWM got a little bit of love yesterday with the QQQ selling off initially, and it managed to hold that. So we've got a little bit of a bullish pattern here after breaking this downtrend. We've been struggling to get much activity in here at all. There's quite a bit of conversation that this new presidency could bring a lot of attention back to IWM. But I got to tell you, as long as we continue to be so centric into the QQQ and tech and all of that, I think it's going to be really tough for these companies to find enough energy to get much push to the upside. But if we can start easing off on some of that tech valuation and reroute some of that money, I think there's every reason to believe that IWM could pick up here and start pushing up. There's that resistance of that big black candle that we'll want to be watching if those bulls can get going today. And if the bears get going, well, push back down in here to test this support wouldn't hurt us at all. No particular worries there. Breaking down below that is where we might get a little bit of concern. Now, if we take a look at, well, we probably should do this here on the IWM. This is our struggle in here on the Russell, pushing up there, just banging its head against that 50-day moving average. And you notice that 50-day moving average has got a little bit of turn to the downside, so watch that carefully. This actually could set up as a pretty decent short pattern as well if you're looking for a short trade. Let's take a look at our VIX. Our VIX, well, even with that big bullish push yesterday, didn't get too excited. We kind of held right in here on that little support area of the chart. I still hold that idea that we're very extended here in the market, and we should be preparing or watching for some kind of a pullback at any point in time. Perhaps we begin that today, which is odd when Fridays have normally been very, very bullish. So keep an eye on that, but watch this closely. If the bulls were to find inspiration today, breaking that support would certainly help things an awful lot in relieving that pressure, and we might start moving back down here toward those 13 handles in the VIX. If the bears, however, find that inspiration and start pushing back up, we've got good resistance right here that could stop us from moving back up too far there. But if we get something really going here and those bears really come in, and I think the selling could pile on just because so many folks would be wanting to protect profits. The selling could pile on if it gets going south. Watch that carefully for that fear maybe to push back up into this trend, see if we can pop back up above that. Let's take a look at our T20s. Our T21-22 continuing to signal that we are overbought here in the market. Now we pushed right back up here toward that bearish reversal zone, but we still have more potential room. So if those bulls can find something inspiring today, maybe we'll double dog dare the FOMC to demand to lower the rates, and we can zoom here in the market. Sorry, just trying to make a joke here on Friday. I really don't care what happens here, but if those bulls can find that inspiration, we've got some upside room here yet that we can fill. If the bears, however, find inspiration, that possibility of a pullback. I was displaying this yesterday in the Right Way Options trading room. You guys can see over here, we've had quite a few examples, where we can push up into here, pull back like we did, and then fire right on through to the upside. But at the same time, we've got quite a few examples where we pull back and we leave that little hook right up here to the upside, and it pops and moves lower. You can see that in this chart all over the place. So we push that back and then we roll on over. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case today, but just keep in mind we do have quite a bit of room for those bears to push if they do. So make sure you've got your stop set. Make sure you're protecting your capital here. Those profits could drift away quickly if there's a pile on in selling. If we take a look at our T2108, T2108 was down most of the day, and then right at the end of the day we had that nice surge back. Well, not right at the end of the day, and after the Trump comments we started to pick back up. But our T2108 turning back up here on the day, 44% of the stocks holding above their 40-day moving average. So if the bulls get going, we've got this resistance up here we'll be watching, and then that potential 50% of the stocks. If we can get half of the stocks back above their 40-day moving average, that'd be a good step. If the bears, however, were to find inspiration, well, I'm looking, they've got a little tiny support there, but probably closer down in here would be the place I'd be watching for that test lower. And if we take a look at T2107, very much the same thing. We ticked back up just a little bit yesterday. The first part of the day we were lower, coming in almost 49% of the stocks holding above their 200-day. So even with this big push and stretch, we haven't been able to get half of our stocks back above the 50% area here. A little bit of bullishness, and we can push that right on through pretty easily. A little bit of bearishness, we might be back down here testing some of these areas of support in the chart. And our T2101 yesterday had that breadth problem here as we surged to the upside, and we saw that VIX not really responding bullishly. Well, we saw the breadth of the market not following that move. So keep a close eye on that. If we see that breadth decrease here, that could be a little bit of a problem. It'll be even a bigger problem if on a bearish wave we see the breadth go higher. If we see those bears get any kind of energy here in the market and that pylon begins to happen, we could actually see the breadth push up on that bearish wave. So watch that carefully here in T2101. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, well, we've got a few things that we want to be paying attention to here this morning. First off, we've got a PMI flash here this morning at 9:45. We'll be looking for that. You can see they've got the manufacturing index in here. Consensus is suggesting it moves just a tiny bit lower to 48.9, but what we know, nobody cares about manufacturing as long as we can talk about AI. So watch that carefully. Services index, they're looking for that to tick down by 1/10. So no particular worries there. So keep an eye on that number this morning. Then probably our most consequential number of the morning is going to be existing home sales, and they're expecting those existing home sales to move up. So watch that closely. If those home sales move higher, that could provide a little bit of worry because we've seen those home prices getting more expensive, and these bond yields are not helping those interest rates at all. If we then look to our consumer sentiment, they're looking for that to come in flat, 73.2. Usually when they do that, I look at that and say, yeah, they just don't know. So they're guessing, and let's just use the last number for that consensus. So watch that carefully on sentiment. Let's take a look. Baker Hughes rig count will be after that. Remember, as you plan your next week, moving into next week, remember to keep in mind that we've got an FOMC meeting coming next week. We're also going to start kicking up on some of the big tech reports. So expect considerable volatility. Let's take a look at our earnings here for today. We do have a few earnings reports that we need to be paying attention to, and my goodness, I don't have that. There we go. I had inadvertently closed my list here. So let's take a look for today. We don't have a big group, but we've got some pretty good notables in here. American Express would be one of those to pay attention to. And right now, it's looking a little toppy here after that earnings report, maybe rolling a bit to back down. So keep an eye on American Express. We're going to have HCA reporting here today. We've got LKFN. We're going to hear from NEE. We've got, NEE. We're going to hear from some regional banks still, NWBI. And we're going to get Verizon's report today. So those are your notables for today. A lot smaller list. Now remember, next week this really starts to pick up. We're going to get a lot more earnings reports. So make sure you know how to get to the morning blog link, which there will not be a blog today. It's a no blog Friday, but the blog link that comes in just below the title of the video, that will you'll be able to go to the blog and catch all the notable reports for the day. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if you could click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, and that would be click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. I truly, truly appreciate it, and I want to thank you so much, everyone, for supporting the channel, supporting the effort. And if you would like to get a little bit more conversation with me, next Monday I am doing an open house. So you might want to put that on your schedule, on your plan. You can attend the Right Way Options Trading Room all day. I'm planning some, hopefully will be good education for everyone who does attend. So you might want to put that on your calendar, and I hope to see you there for that open house on Monday. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up. And remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence and be very, very careful in this market, particularly because of the extension. Just racing in to buy right now might not be the best idea, but there are still some very good looking charts out there that are setting up beautiful patterns. So let's take a look here. I put an alert here on VAL. This was actually brought up by one of the members of the Right Way Options trading room. And I got to tell you guys, being part of a trading room, it's not about me. It's not about me and the trades I call and those kind of things. Being a part of the room, you have all of these trained eyes looking at the market, and I benefit from it just as much as anyone else does when these trained eyes find great looking charts like this. Take a look at VAL showing some nice little resting consolidation pattern in here. I placed a price alert in that chart. If this finds any bullish energy, enough bullish energy to pop on through, might be something that you would be interested in as well. You want to notice here in VAL, we've slipped out from underneath this downtrend. Everything's looking pretty good in that chart. And if we look just a little bit further here, you can see we're in our pattern that we call a round bottom breakout pattern. Breaking through that 50, looking pretty good here overall on VAL. If we take a look at Uber, nice little pattern set up, and I had a line on my chart here, all that resistance in the chart, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to make that whole line an alert. If Uber finds some bullishness in here, breaking through that resistance in here, I would be watching for that potential very low risk entry, stop loss close on that trade. Keep a close eye on that moving, that potential of that moving up above its 50. It's not a round bottom breakout because there's just not enough move between there and the 20-day moving average and the additional resistance. But we've been seeing this move higher, so keep an eye on Uber in there, showing a really nice pattern here in the market. Take a look at Tesla in here. Tesla also potentially setting up. We broke through this downtrend here in Tesla, pushed right back up. There's that W or double bottom type formation, breaking higher. We're putting in that higher low. This is the pattern that I love to trade, and I trade it over and over and over. You know what I tell people in the Right Way Options room is I'm not the master of everything. I don't want to be the master of everything. What I've worked to do is be the very best I can be at just a couple of very high producing patterns in the market. This is one of them. Take a look right over here. Here's that pullback that we occurred, popped up, and then rested out here to trend. The rule for me is somewhere near support, somewhere near trend, and then you get that nice move to the upside. Easy trades to be made, and they repeat themselves in the market over and over and over. And you can see right here that potential that this could fire off. Now, one of the key rules on this is don't predict it. Don't assume that you know that it is going to go up from here. Set a price alert and make it go there. If it doesn't, if it falls this way, no skin, no cost, no worries. I don't care. If it does find that bullishness in here, I don't have to invest my ego in the trade is what I'm suggesting here. Make the trade come to you. And Tesla looking pretty good there for that potential. I continued to watch Occidental. I like this, the way Occidental was pushing right up here, broke through that resistance. And I set alert because we rested a few days in here. Looking for that, but here again, I don't care. I don't invest my ego into predicting whether something's going to move. I make it come to me, and you can see what happened here. This slipped back lower. So in order for Occidental to become bullish, for me, this has to recover, and again, we need to force that higher low. Anytime we break a support, we need to see the higher low come into the chart. And the way I drew it, it doesn't have to do that. Heck, it could push up here and hold right in here and then show us that higher low in the chart, and that resumes an upside trend. So keep an eye on that on Occidental. could be something you want to pay attention to. Ralph Lauren, you guys know I've been talking about Ralph Lauren for a long time, and it continues to demonstrate that bullishness. There's that downtrend break like I showed you on Tesla. That downtrend break, we broke the support, we recover it, we hold, and then pop. And we just continue to make those moves and follow that trend to the upside. Great looking chart, good potential. I wouldn't chase it here. I would wait for a little rest or pullback on that chart for that next potential move. Take a look at the healthcare sector. Healthcare sector making that first move out of the downtrend, popping through here, stretching up. Any rest or pullback now that holds that higher low and follows anywhere along that trend, anywhere close in there, I'm looking for that next opportunity in that trade. So keep a close eye on that. We continue to see Meta holding in there pretty strong and now trying to break through this resistance. We have challenged this resistance, challenged it and challenged it and challenged it. Haven't been able to really break through. We did that yesterday on the breakthrough here. So in this stretch, we want to see that rest back now, consolidate a little bit, and then look for that next opportunity. You will want to keep in mind on these big techs. Meta's going to be reporting next week, next Wednesday, as a matter of fact, right after we get the FOMC report. So kind of keep an eye on that on Meta. Looking pretty good overall. Google also made a good move, breaking through this resistance up here, and notice that's just really resting since it popped through up here. Resting back toward this trend. We got the support, the trend here in the chart. This also is going to be reporting soon on 2-4, but watch that carefully. That could push right on through, and we see this a lot where we see those charts push through that area heading into the earnings report because of the enthusiasm, a lot of prediction going on there. So it could rally into earnings. Now keep in mind, that's not the only thing happening in the market. There are some concerns out here. We've got Expedia. Expedia broke this support here in the chart. This is a big area of congestion. Broke that support and it was heading down. The reversal yesterday in the market picked this back up, but you want to notice it picked it back up and we couldn't quite get back above that resistance area in the chart. So watch that carefully here. Expedia, if we get some selling coming into the market, we might see this roll on down to the downside. Take a look at like Zoom Mobile. Zoom Mobile ended up hammering yesterday, pushing up here, might be trying to hold that support. So this could go either direction. As you can see, we're trying to break that downtrend and push through here. But if this were to reverse on some selling in here and we fall through that support, yeah, watch out. There could be some downside move coming in that chart. So we have things on both sides of the market. We've got bullish charts, we've got those potential bearish charts here, and when we're in this transition period from a very high stretch, it's time to watch a little bit of those other sides of the market. RBLX is not one of those bearish trades. Very, very bullish here, pushing to the upside. Keep a close eye on that. Nice little pop in there. May have to rest here a little bit more to move out to trend. You can see we'll get these pushes and pops, but as long as we're away from the trend, we can still rest back. Doesn't mean it goes bearish, but it may have to rest back into that trend. So watch that carefully. So hopefully that was useful for you guys today. Hopefully you got something out of it. I've run this video a little bit long. Want to wish you all the very, very best. Have a wonderful Friday and a fantastic weekend. I'll see you right back here bright and early Monday morning. Take care, everyone.